All right, we good? All right, special episode of Froning and Friends. We have Dr. Christopher Hinshaw as the moderator here.
Yeah. I love being a doctor.
We have Coach Chris Hinshaw. And
no, it's good to be with you guys.
Two representatives of CrossFit Mayhem Independence and 1.5 representatives of CrossFit Mayhem.
Am I the half?
No, I'm the half. I only have one knee. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
No, I have so many questions and just observations and watching you through the years competing, but also just this time spending a bunch of time in the athlete area and watching how you guys interact. And
Mayhem Island?
Mayhem Island. That's a good name for it.
Boy, I'll tell you what, that was the first sign of intimidation when you guys
stole all the couches.
Every couch that was actually in the athlete area were
I believe they were bobsledding them over.
Well, and I noticed, so every morning I would have to go back at 6 o'clock and when no one was there and reconstruct
You did?
People would steal our couches.
What?
Well, only because you had them all.
We had most of them, yeah.
Right.
To be fair, at least you're objective.
We did have a lot of them.
No, and I think that was one of the intimidation factors, right? Mm-hmm. Like somehow you had a TV monitor, you had a remote control, you had coffee tables. I mean, it was...
We had a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Right, but I think that goes along with like intimidating people because you couldn't help but to take notice of it.
I want to say that's atypical, but that's what we've done at regionals and the games we've always been like...
We don't not let anybody join our crew, though.
No.
Yeah.
Just
we were kind of with
something that's...
We had some allies there. We had Reebok 1 was right next to us.
Allies.
Well, and I also noticed that when people wanted to come over, it wasn't that they weren't invited. No. I mean, it's very welcoming. Yeah. I just think it's intimidating.
We just stared.
Right.
Yeah. Just glare.
Well, let's face it. So you had a big group of people, 8 people. Don't you think that also helped?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So did it help when one of you went off in an earlier heat?
That wasn't fun. Well, they did. They actually gave us some very good information about the events that first day because they weren't in our heat. You know, they were would tell us what was up, especially, because we practiced the bike deadlift. And when we practiced it, we all broke it 3 times. They actually beat us when we practiced
the first event, right?
And so they told us, hey, don't drop the bar. We were kind of like, I don't know about that. And we did. We actually listened to them. So that went well, or else we might have broken it up a little bit more than we should have. And then that second event, just the whole rings ordeal, debacle. You guys gave us some pretty good pointers on that. I mean, there's not much you can do. Basically, just stay calm no matter what, because you're going to freak out.
Yeah.
But I think for you guys, right, starting out with a win.
Yeah. It was huge,
helps.
especially on an event we did not think we would win. I thought we would do well, but I didn't think we would win that one, knowing that OC3 kicked our butt on that basically the same workout at regionals.
So is there right away, like, where does the assessment of the other teams occur? Does it occur in that first event, or are you doing it after regionals? I mean, where are you, like, checking out the competition?
I don't know if you can really assess a team after regionals because 3 weeks. You have 3 weeks to prepare, or there's 3 separate weeks. And so teams that go in the first have a little bit less time to prepare for the workouts. The teams that go second have a little bit more time, and the teams that have 3 weeks, you have a lot of time to prepare for those workouts. And you can get really good at workouts in 3 weeks, like really good, especially team workouts, because you know transitions, you can figure stuff out, you can watch other teams. So it's kind of hard to really come up with an idea of what a team is or how good they are from regionals. I mean, you're going to know what teams are, your top 10 probably, but you can't really tell what they are and how good they are until that first event is hard to. You can kind of see what communication looks like, and but it's hard to. It's easy to see teams like, heck, we'll say it, Don't Stop, that look just completely like they're not on the same page whatsoever. Watching them try to do deadlifts and just fail and look sloppy.
Right.
And so you can see that in teams, but knowing their overall fitness is kind of tough in the first event.
Well, I think too, like it's the dynamics of regionals and the games are so substantially different. Because like, look at how it's tested. I mean, the games is so much about outdoors and odd objects and running and things like that, where it was regionals, it's more of a gymnastics base, a sprint base. So it's really testing completely different things. So you can, at least in my mind, I'm less intimidated by a regional team knowing that one of their gaping holes at the games could be running or obstacle or something outside. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that I don't want to say it's not a great test. It's a great test of certain things, but I think there are things that aren't exposed through regionals that like will make a team different at the games. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that for the three of you, you've all competed at the games before. And so it's interesting to me that there wasn't a fear factor of going out on the big floor. But for you, that must have been a lot of pressure. But what a good event for you, right? The deadlift.
Yeah, I think the first event was the perfect event to be the first one because there wasn't anything that was like high skill or something that I was bad at. But like Rich said, going into it, like Lindy and I had talked that we probably weren't going to win the event. Like we were going to try, obviously. So going into the third round when we were battling for first, that was mentally a huge win because I was like, okay, maybe we're a little bit better than we think we are, and that was really cool to start at the games like that.
So I always find that interesting, right? So when we were back in the athlete area, it's not a bunch of, rah, 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 go team. You're really individually sitting by yourself and you're kind of interacting and tossing, the gummy bears around and the food, but you're all kind of just hanging individually. And I find it interesting that you get together and think, oh, maybe, we might not be that good in this one event.
Yeah, it's not like a negative thing, but looking at, there's not a lot of room for separation in an event like that where all teams are going to go 15-10 for the most part, and then it's based on the women on the bike. Yep. So it was kind of like an interesting first event, I thought.
So did you notice the Reebok team that was off to your left?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we were kind of fighting with them, and that really having them in that heat push us, or else, not knowing what other heat, what other heats got, but it's kind of hard to know the splits and stuff like that when you're trying to warm up. We're getting corralled and moved and all that stuff, so you can't really see what were their splits, what do we need to keep, anything like that.
It was neck and neck.
And so, but I'm saying in the earlier heats, so OC3 had the time to beat, and I think if Reebok 1 hadn't have been there, we probably would have gotten second on that workout because we wouldn't have pushed as hard. But knowing that Austin and Spencer are really good at deadlifting and their girls did really well on the bike, we knew we had to push, and then I guess we just kind of pushed a little faster, and they kind of died towards the end. But yeah, having them there really helped on that event, helped with the event win for sure.
Yeah.
It's crazy too because from just a little bit of competition that I've done, as far as with it, you really do find out that transitions are key. Especially in a field like that, whenever you test back at your gym, you don't really take into account the 50-yard run that keeps getting longer and longer each time. Your deadlift bar's right there, your bike is right there, you're on, you're off, you don't, and it was cool to see, especially for them, for Rich and them out there, to see their consistency stay the same. They got off, they all ran together, got to the bar, picked it up, did their deadlifts, and then they would all run back, where a lot of people would start to break down.
Well, you guys did that too. You guys what, 5th in that event?
Yeah.
And then watching Ted try to sprint to the finish line
was even better.
Boy.
The little lunge run.
Yeah, that was something. So who was actually dictating the directives on your team during that event?
It was actually a little bit of all of us. It's because you get on the bike wasn't like you were out of breath. It was just that your legs, you're trying to maintain a fast pace, and you're basically just trying to get your arms back. Yeah. So you kind of have a couple minutes to kind of think about, okay, can we do this again? And then when we started to finish the bike, everybody's passing chalk around, making sure that everybody's ready, and that was basically our main thing going into it. We knew we're not the strongest team, but we have to have the best transitions. We have to be able to get to that bar first and do our thing and get back to the bike. So it helped, just the little things, making sure everybody had chalk, making sure as soon as just making sure everybody got off the bike and ran.
One of the best things that they told us from your heat to ours was that put a piece of chalk on the bike. Yeah. So you had the chalk right there. Tell them what happened with Ted though.
Poor Ted.
So fortunately, I would get done with the bike first. I don't know how, but I don't know. I just black out.
Darren's really good. Darren's really good on the bike.
But so then I would sit up and I would start chalking, and then of course Ted would start to finish, so I'd reach back and I'd toss it to Ted, and then me not thinking, I would just assume that Ted would hand it to Kristen, and then maybe Kristen would hand it to Elly or whoever got done there. Ted gets it, chalks up, and throws it on the ground.
And you're not allowed to get off the bike till the workout's over, which I did on the first round.
And what was funny leading into that, actually on the very first round, when we got done with the deadlifts, that's all that I kept saying in my head was, make sure you get chalk, just make sure you get chalk. So I was was running back. They had the little thing there, and I go to get it. Well, the guy in the lane next to me grabbed the whole block and then ran with it. And I forget what team he was, but he was a giant. And he hops on, and me and him are side by side, and I'm pedaling. I just kind of look over at him. I said, "Hey, can I have a piece of that?" And he ended up breaking it off, and he tossed it to me.
For real?
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah. I mean, in the middle of a competition, he actually tossed me like a piece of chalk. I was like, can't say I would have done the same.
But I mean, what a contrast from last year, your first time competing at the games, to this year, right? That I noticed one of the biggest differences was in Darren and your composure. Right, you were really a leader on the floor, and you weren't nervous. You were kind of just the fact that just asking for a competitor for chalk. Sounds like
you weren't nervous at all.
I mean, I was.
His interviews looked a little nervous, but
well, when they interviewed me, it was after the sprint, which I even told him, I said I do not want to talk. And Elly, Elly wouldn't talk. Elly wouldn't talk. Ted, I don't know where Ted was at that point, but
Ted didn't know where he was at that point.
It was great. It was good.
No, I think that Ted, I'm blown away at his performance. I mean, the guy comes in.
Blown away.
Yeah, truly blown away. And I mean, I think one of the most memorable things was that second to last event, and you guys, independents, had to win. You know, if you were going to get on the podium, you had to deliver an incredible performance. And you and Elly, you and Kristen were just crushing in that run by taking the rope and leading it out. And I mean, Ted, boy, he was, if his knuckles weren't dragging on the ground in that run.
And I'll tell you, it was crazy because like I told people, I said the way that Ted looks when he's competing to compare the way that he performs, it's like a 180, you know, because he was running, his hands were on his hips, and anybody who's, in my opinion, that's down to that point of running is about to break.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He kept up with us the whole time, even though that it looked awful. And I mean, compared to the way I felt too, I was like, I can't keep up with Kristen or Elly.
Oh my gosh, the way you took off on that first round and pulling the rope so that was an event that you actually were very nervous about because of size.
Yeah.
You had mentioned beforehand that, I mean, let's face it, size matters in a lot of those events,
the
right?
Bob, especially.
Yeah.
Right, and pulling that sled. But one of the things that it was clear is that was a running event.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And you guys were very clear that you had practice working as a team and pulling a rope. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So were you surprised as it was going through? Wait a minute.
I mean, I knew very quickly that it was a running event, though. You know, after the first pull, maybe it was a lot harder for you than it was for us, but it was better take off now.
It was surprisingly, and I don't want to sound arrogant with this, but it was easier than I thought on the pull. I don't know, getting up to it and it moved better than I thought. It kind of gave me a little bit of confidence, oh wow, we could actually finish this event.
Yeah.
Because at first I'm like, there's no way. I mean, I have the weakest pull out of anybody in our or on our team. Yeah. I'm just terrible at that stuff. So it was actually cool to see the sled moving, and then by the second round, we're kind of ahead. I'm like, wow, this is actually going as planned.
Were you talking during that run of I think we could win this? Did you ever communicate that in the middle?
Run?
No, it was don't.
I know you left Ted.
In the beginning, we said hey, we're gonna take off.
In the beginning, there was smash our heads into the ground, let's run.
Yeah, and to your point about Ted too, we were talking about this yesterday, and I just have to acknowledge I would call him the rookie of the year from I've never met a person with so little competition experience who handles pressure so well.
Yeah.
Doesn't even cross it, never even just handles it all. We just say, here's the expectation, and he does it. It's pretty incredible.
So I was sitting right next to you in the stadium, in the Coliseum indoors when you were doing that GHT wall ball, med ball, and the whole time Ted's fingers are barely on the ball, and every time he goes back, he almost loses it, but somehow it comes up with him, and it was a mini miracle that he didn't lose that ball, but he always delivered. Always.
And you just see the color leave his face. Each round he would get whiter and whiter, and you're and he just keeps going. It's incredible.
It was.
I was very impressed by that. I was. I think that the hard part is that the event that followed. Right.
Oh, the thruster,
Did you guys talk about that last event between you? A lot of people were asking me if it came down to it and freedom was ahead of independence in that event, would you have accidentally on purpose slowed down to give them the points. And I mean, it would have been interesting to see, we'll never know what would have happened, but it would have been interesting to see, because it's a huge advantage having.
There was talk about that.
Yeah, of two teams. I would think that you guys, I mean, nothing wrong with doing that.
No, I don't feel like it is.
Right? But in that event, it was clear that you guys were smoked
Yeah. I wish we would actually have communicated with them and talked to them about strategy as well. I think we were just like I don't want to say the word flustered, but I mean, we knew we just had to perform extremely well in both events. So it was like hammer down, give it everything you have till you die. And that's the approach we took with it. So the reps we did were just like colossal, as like, I think if we would have employed the strategy that they did, which was so smart, it would have kept us in our zone and we would have slowly passed people in the way that we usually do. You know what I mean?
I think it's just hard to say too, because Dynamics was so far ahead. You wouldn't have caught them. OC3 maybe.
That's true. I guess I didn't really think of.
I don't even know how many points behind OC3 were you.
Yeah, we were. I don't want to say we were like 20 or 30 points like behind, but yeah, and kind of like you said, you can never like account for the little things that happen. You get no repped, and I mean like you walk into workouts like with an idea like Plan A. Plan A starts failing. You're like, oh well, we'll go to Plan B. Plan B's out the door. And you're just like throwing pages like
we did that.
We did
that. Throwing pages.
Yeah, you're just trying to figure out, and I think. Going with the games, that's kind of where your question previously, that's where you see a lot of teams that actually can like come together who can adapt to survive.
Yep.
Well,
I think you needed them to underperform. I mean, it reminded me a lot of last year where didn't you finish with, like, I think your last 4 events were second.
Yeah, but we needed Brute to
Wasatch
finish. Yeah,
didn't underperform.
Right. No, they were always right there.
Right. So even if you win,
you still
have to still underperform.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's the thing, is like the way the point structures are. Yeah, you've got to have them underperform if you have that one bad event.
Right.
So what was that one bad event for Freedom?
Like the Swimmin Run was probably our worst. I mean, it definitely was our worst event.
So do you remember we talked about that beforehand, and you had talked about the sled.
Yeah, I was like, there's no passing on it. That's what, once you're in the water there, you're in the water there. You're either going to have to make up time on the swim or make up time on the run. The sled is just there.
So did you pass anybody in the sled?
No, I don't think so.
And did you guys pass anybody?
Yeah, I mean,
you guys passed us.
Yeah, you guys passed us.
We passed maybe one or two teams, but even at that point,
it's so much wasted energy though to go around teams.
Oh my gosh! And just like you're literally yanking the entire, like you can literally blow up half of your body with how hard you're pulling it and kicking on one side. I mean, that's what I was thinking the whole time. I'm like, I imagine more people would be cramping.
Yeah.
Because it's such an explosive yank.
Is there technique to the yank? Meaning, is it together like
you guys on the worm? The big thing is you want to try to be in as sync as you can, but it's such mass chaos. Yeah. It's just kind of.
And what about putting an athlete on that? Is it not an option?
It is, but I don't know how much advantage there is to
hard.
it. Yeah, it would make it hard.
It would make it really hard.
And I don't think you could even help with the kick on that. I don't even think a kick would really.
Yeah, because I didn't see that in the year past when it was there.
Yeah,
they had people get on and kick.
Granted, too, but you had 6 people on that tiny sled, so you're hitting people more than anything. So I think with 4, you need all 4 people pulling.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched that event and just listened to Chase, and Chase was like saying that I should have waited back for Tasia and let her draft, but you can't. Like, I can't go. It would waste more energy for me to go slower to have her draft, and I don't think she could have even. Like, I don't think it would have worked that way.
Especially in the mass chaos of that too.
Right. I think our plan though was for you to get out anyways and recover, so that like I could recover on the sled.
Right.
Which I think is what happened essentially.
I had to do a lot of defending of what you did.
Right, but a lot of people nothing
felt
else
it
I
was
could.
Being selfish, but the truth is the plan. You had to carry the bulk of the weight when you pull the sled.
Right. Yeah.
And if you're fatigued,
I'm done.
Then you're slower.
Yeah. And when you get in that, for one, like I said, the slower you swim, sometimes it's harder. Like for me, because there's no, I'm not floating, so I have to work at least a certain, percentage to get there. Well, then on the, and then fighting people makes it infinitely harder. So I wanted to try to get out as far ahead as I could and not fight anybody.
Right. Well, so what I noticed, which was really kind of a weird thing, what they did is that all of the number 1 seeded teams were put on the far
On that
end,
edge, yeah.
which was
Yeah,
the
well, that
closest
was-
point to the buoy.
Yeah.
And yet when the teams came up, you guys ended up being next to the dock,
Pinned.
which was the
I was
worst.
pinned literally in the
Yeah.
dock.
So you,
was stressful.
the thing is you had to get out. And now, have you ever been in an open water swim?
I have.
Not a
it
mass
didn't-
start.
I've been in 2016. I did the mass start for the 500 meter swim, but it started with a run.
Right.
So we weren't all in the
Right, it was
water
all
at once,
stretched
so
out.
it didn't feel the same as us
It's
all
not.
wading in the water.
Yeah, because so with the red swim caps that they had,
Oh, that's easy to
That
see.
didn't help.
it was very easy to see you on the television, and you were fine until everybody went down.
Yeah.
And boy, it looked like, oh my
It
gosh.
was stressful. I think the hardest part was I started out freestyle because we've been swimming so much, so I was actually like excited to perform better than I
Yeah.
had years ago. And I'm like freestyling, and all the time like looking, and people are running by me in the water.
So you did notice that.
I did. So I
Yeah.
came right up. Once
Saw
I
that.
saw people actually running faster than I was swimming, I started running, and I think that just started off it where like I would have passed people who really couldn't swim in the beginning because I could swim. Everyone was on the same playing field because you could just run in the water to a third of the swim, like to the first buoy almost.
Right, all the way. Yeah, like Ron Ortiz. Granted, he's
I
about
never
8
once
feet
ran.
tall. He ran to the first
That was
buoy.
awesome. That was,
I
that
see.
was the
I
best
hated
feeling.
it. It was because then my heart rate was even more jacked because I'm running through water. That by the time I have to swim, there's still all these people around me that I might have hopefully lost some of them that
Yeah.
couldn't swim.
Right.
So it was not a good start.
Yeah, I mean, that
You
was
did
one of those, for me,
Yeah, you
you
did.
watched
You
that.
did awesome.
Did a lot better than I
You
did.
and Kristen both, like, getting through that event, like, seeing day one of them in the pool, I remember. There were tears.
There were tears.
In the locker room afterwards, and how incredible and how comfortable they are in open water is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, you crushed it.
Thanks. I feel like it didn't really show because I did want to freestyle the majority of the swim, and that didn't happen because my heart rate was so high. I felt like I couldn't put my face in the water.
It is too bad that they have a swim where you can run half of it.
That's
Yeah.
he should say you can't put your feet down. I mean, to a certain point. It's not a
would've
swim.
done
That's
it.
a run in the water.
I would have ran.
Well, and
Give
that's
me
what
that choice.
and that's what everybody learned, though. Everybody learned after watching you guys that they learned that, you know what, let's just run
Yeah.
because it's as fast.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think that was kind of disappointing that you spend all that time training. I mean, let's face it, no one swam more than you guys in
Yeah.
terms of volume in the pool,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, there's no one even remotely close.
Yeah.
So wait, what was that finish? That finish was,
16th or 19th.
I love how you know.
Yeah.
Do you know how many wins they got?
You had 3, 2?
Wins? Event
First
wins?
places.
wins,
Yeah,
2.
event wins.
Oh,
Yeah.
2, and you got a second place on another one.
you did.
Do you know how many events?
do-
Do you know how many events they beat you in?
4? 5?
I think it was 5 and
5?
6.
It was a
yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
It was
It was
more
a
than I
lot.
wanted it to happen.
They're fit.
I mean, I think that's what's so
We can
amazing,
be.
right?
Have our moments.
No, I think that's incredible that you guys are that close together. So to me, the exciting event was that the lift, the snatch. I was really blown away by that.
The snatch?
Were you guys
Why are you
surprised?
laughing?
Yeah, why? What were you blown away by?
Well, for
that,
one,
yeah, okay. I'm about to say, Chris.
well, I mean, I think that like wasn't it the year prior that you guys? I mean, didn't that? What was the lift before? It was clean and jerk for right? And that it wasn't the best,
No,
right?
I mean, it
The
was.
year prior.
Yeah.
I mean, matter of
Yeah.
fact, that could have been where you lost a lot of your points
It
in
was one of our lower
2017.
finishes for sure, I think.
But for some reason, like this year, you guys, I mean, that was one of the things that you brought on the table, right? Was that you can help on a lift. But for Matt and Rich, the lift you did, explain that because it seemed like
Yeah, I hadn't hit anything over 265 in the last year and a half. We hadn't done
What's your max lift?
the max I've ever done is 306.
306.
306, but that's 3 years ago.
That was like 2 knees ago.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't run a lot this year, or I did not run a lot. These guys ran a little bit more than I did. Didn't run a lot, and I didn't lift a lot this year, just because of the impact it would have on my knees the day or two after, just the swelling or feeling after. So
the heaviest you went in training was 260.
265. I hit 265 on what day? Well, as soon as it was announced, I was like, I need to at least see where I'm at, and hit 265, and then Hewitt wanted to do some heavy pulls after that, so we put 275 on, and it felt like 1,000,000 pounds, and I was like, this is not good.
So then what was your strategy on that snatch? Because it seemed like I saw 275 from Hewitt.
Yeah,
Hewitt. So the plan was we were like, all right, let's get out there. We'll do 225 for us, the guys. It was 225 because they had only a certain amount. They had one set of 10s, one set of 5s, one set of 2.5. So we were going to go 225, 245, 260, 275, and I wanted 275. Matt wanted 275.
Like that was your dream number.
That was our dream numbers, and so I hit. We went up. I hit 275. Matt missed 275, and so he looked at me and he was like, "You think you can go up?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Let's go up, and then we'll go back down for me." And so I said, "All right." So we hit 290. I hit 290, and I was like,
"Wait a minute." So you went from before 290. Where were you?
We went 260, 275, 290.
And 275 felt
fine. Yeah. The only bad lift I had was what, 225. It looked like crap.
I was like, ugh.
Yeah, I was like, oh gosh.
Must be nice.
How is that possible? I mean, what's going on in your head when that? Like, are you thinking that I haven't done this in?
No, you can't let that go. You can't think about
adrenaline.
that.
Is it
It's
the
just
adrenaline rush?
The crowd, watching everybody else, listening to everybody else.
So that still does it for you.
Oh yeah.
The crowd.
Oh yeah, for
After
sure.
all of these years,
yeah,
right?
1,000%. You always. I'm not a. I mean, you say practice player or game player. I've always been. I can always do things that were not possible in training when we're competing. Always.
And you know that about yourself,
Always.
and so you could pick a number.
Yeah, and that was just what was there. It was like I could have hit 285, but I was like, screw it, let's hit 290 and see what happens. I don't
and just
really
see
know
what
why,
happens.
But yeah.
But what about your knee?
I wasn't really thinking about that at the time.
So that didn't even pop into your head.
No.
It'll heal.
It'll heal.
Yeah.
He'll be fine.
I had a heart attack on it. I'm yelling at the TV, just going, "What is he?"
What is he?
It seems like a silly thing to do.
Well, and so I was actually talking to Ben Smith after this, and Travis Williams came up. He's like, "Hey, Rachel said that you saw me hit 285. That's why you put 290 on, and blah blah blah." And I was like, "No, dude, I wasn't actually looking at you at all at any point during that event." So
is it just your own brain? I
was like, that's a logical jump. Let's see what 290 looks like. I had no idea. And then Matt was like, you hit 290 and then I'll go back down. And I was like, no, you're going to hit 275. He's like, should I? I was like, hit 275, and he smashed it. So it was pretty cool to see because he wanted to go down in weight.
So is that what happens on the floor? Like do you feel as a team like momentum within the team and you get
this? For sure. Watching Tasia snatch 205 like it's nothing, snatch more than Darren, is pretty impressive.
Believe me, that was the only motivation that I needed, like right there. I was like, I just got to beat Tasia now.
But is that how it works? I mean, do you feel that like with them, like this welling up of greatness?
Definitely. I mean, my goal going into it was to go 75, 85, 95, and then when I hit 95, it felt good.
When we said go 205, she goes, should I? And we're like, yes.
So I came off, and I was like...
And what's that based on, though?
I don't know. It looked good. She looked strong.
No
We believed in her.
But I haven't snatched, that often or that much recently. So going into it, I was like, turned around, and I'm like, should I go 200, like a 5-pound jump or a 10-pound jump? And they're like, just go for it. So I was like, all right, let's do it. Went up.
Wow. I mean, to me, that was like a turning point in right there. That was like, wow, these guys are legit. I think that's where for me, in my observation, I think it was really cool. I mean, let's face it, we're all fans of Rich, and it is incredible that you lift 290 pounds and there's kids that are there that never saw you compete as an individual, and they're seeing a guy that
washed up and past his prime.
That's not it. That sees a guy in his prime. Mm-hmm. I mean, that event with the bar muscle ups.
No, that was fun. That was a good one.
Can you play that back? Because I really felt like, and I mean, we were watching that in the stands, and the people watching were just in awe of seeing a man of true greatness in his prime, and that's the Rich Froning that people talked about,
right?
From 13 and 14.
It was fun. That event was a lot of fun.
But did you know? So, like as a team, I mean, I think that in my observation, Lindy was very patient in her lifts, and
yeah, I mean, looking at that event on paper, you look at teams like Don't Stop, that cycle a barbell really well. And so you're kind of like, can we, and at that point they were out. Like they weren't going to podium because they finished dead last in the swim. And so you actually want those teams to do well to get places in between some of the other teams. And so we know a lot of the teams like them, some of the teams from the Central, they're good at barbell stuff. You know that Invictus X is going to be really good. You know these guys are going to be really good. So you're kind of like, where are we going to sit after? It's going to shake out after the first 2 events where you're going to be at. And watching Don't Stop fly through that first set of barbell stuff. And Lindy is really good on a barbell, but she's a little bit slower on her cycle times, really good at chest to bar, so you knew that was going to be a good thing for her. And so just watching that, and you're like, all right, where are we going to be when it's my turn to get the barbell? And so then when Jared he was probably 5 or 6 reps ahead of me, something like that. I don't even know where he was at. I thought I didn't know if he was too far ahead if he would have to break the bar muscle ups or anything like that, but once he started breaking the bar muscle ups, I was like, all right.
So then you knew.
I can get him, yeah.
So they came here and trained a few weeks before the games, but that didn't give you any insights on his ability, right?
Not really on bar muscle ups. So we didn't do a ton of workouts when they were here, to be honest. We did some, and but nothing like that.
But by the time you were going in, I mean, you were pretty far behind.
Yeah, I was a couple reps behind. I don't remember how many, but I just remember. But I knew I could do the bar muscle ups unbroken, and I was going to try to do the snatches in 2 sets, going in.
So that's a good movement for you.
Yeah, those are 2 pretty good movements for me.
And it was a good movement for you.
Oh yeah, Tasia.
I mean, did you guys know? Was that a surprise that you were able to?
No, we knew that. We were like, this is like a home run for Tasia. We'd actually done a very similar workout, 2-3 weeks before?
Yeah.
With 155. We went 10.8.6.4.2 with 155.
But ring muscle ups, so you're great at a bar muscle up, but the ring muscle up workout seemed like it was challenging for you.
Yeah, I'm definitely much better at bar muscle ups than ring
muscle ups. So for them
ups.
to do that, it was like, wow, lucky for you.
Oh, yeah, it was great. That was a great event for us all the way around.
Great combo.
And then on you, we talked before that event, and you were going to go 5-4-3, and then I am counting your numbers, and 5 goes by, then 6 goes by, and 7. What happened? I don't know. I mean, I'm curious on like the game plan, right? Because you have a game plan, and it's like, okay, I think I'm going to go 5. I think I'm going to go 5 because I could transition, and then I could move through, and I won't get myself. Do you just feel better?
I mean, I'm a extremely methodical human being, so I mean,
You love pacing.
I love pacing.
You sure do.
Where I was, but I mean, it wasn't. I mean, if something doesn't feel, if you're pacing and you're not at your 70% of your pace and you can keep going, you just keep going. You know.
Yeah.
I think that's a crowd thing too. Like you have people pushing, you're in competition mode, and you're like, you wanted to go 5-4-3 or whatever, and you get to 5, and you're like, I feel great.
Yeah.
Like, and not like I feel great, so I'm gonna go faster and implode, but I feel great. Maybe I'll see not get to a point where you're going to like fail, but get to a point where you're like, all right, now you start to fatigue. Then you would come down instead of, that's when your game plan kind of goes out the window.
So speaking of the fans, so you were in Carson, right? Tennis Stadium. Did you ever? Right? You competed in there and then the indoor arena. Is there a dramatic difference between the two? Being indoors, outdoors, in terms of fan experience, like noise and...
I don't know.
Yeah. The way that I kind of described it to like people back there, I actually missed the tennis stadium because I don't know. I mean, I wasn't
outdoor,
on it. As much as Rich was. But a few times you could step out there and you see the crowd, but then you look up and you see the sky. Yeah. It's almost like calming.
Yeah, and those big lights coming down.
It's just there's just so much happening. Getting out there in the Coliseum, you get out there and it's cool, the lights and stuff, but then it's just dark.
Black.
You know, and you're
can you not see all the way to the top?
You can't even see the top above like the probably 10 or 15 rows.
You can't really just see people, and then it kind of darkens its way, and then the lights are just there. Yeah. But it was cool with the tennis stadium. Like, it's hard to beat that 70-degree night weather and just that awesome feeling of.
I say this year, though, just the atmosphere was 10 times better than last year.
Oh, yeah.
Last year felt a lot just like a glorified regional, to be honest, at the games. This year felt like the games.
Yeah, it was cool. Like the crowd, like how many people came out to actually watch and stuff was really cool to see.
I think the bigger percentage outside gave you that closer kind of like connectedness, like Carson, like the tennis stadium. I felt like you were way just more connected with the people. I mean, the Coliseum's still loud, but I think having that percentage outside, you're still interacting and seeing so many people, but you still get to go under the lights. So I don't know. I thought this year felt like a lot better environment, like they're saying too.
Well, I mean, I know walking around, there were way more people than I've ever seen before. I mean, it was truly incredible. I mean, it was a real spectacle. It's really amazing what it's evolved into being. It's really
there's so much more to do too. You have events. There's no real downtime anymore between events. You have individuals going with teams, but then you have the masters and teams going on at the same time as well. So it's just, it's a revolving door of events.
But it's impressive, right, that they have all of these individual events going, teens and masters. They have the teams, they have individuals. All of them going in parallel.
All on time. Yeah. Even like with the weather delay.
Yeah.
The little shifts that they did, because they even told us in the crowd area, how'd they say it? They said,
basically, they were like, hey, as soon as this heat finishes, the last team, we're not going to wait the 20 minutes they normally would. They're like, as soon as the last team finishes, you're going out there.
Which I thought it was going to be, like a crap show, because I'm like, oh, there's no way they can pull this off. But no, they line us up and they're like, hey, athletes, you have 1 minute. It's like, it's go time.
I think that for you guys, that being on schedule, because you're so organized to be on schedule, everything is based upon time, and so it allows you. It's like, no, we got to do this, and this, and
I wouldn't say
for you guys.
I would not use the word organized for this group.
Come on, Chris.
Well, who's the one that's always forgetting their stuff on the team? Anybody? Didn't someone have to go get
their jersey
to
the
how does that happen?
CrossFit Games?
How does that happen? Was that the first event?
That was actually the very first event. Believe me,
you can't get out on the floor without your jersey.
Believe it or not, I'm
I heard
actually
he wanted
good
to
about
borrow
that
one
stuff
of
too.
the girls' shirts.
I was so mad at myself, and I had to call my wife. That just makes it worse.
So how does that call go? Because here she is.
It's
She's
embarrassing.
Nervous. It is?
Yeah, because she just waits for me to mess up so that way she can, do that. I told you, or hey, you absolutely need me, that kind of stuff. So I hate that. I try to make those conversations as quick as possible with her, like on the phone. I'm like, hey, I need this. Can you be here? Love you, bye. But she'll drag it out.
She was a superstar.
She was great.
She was. I will say that, and I'm glad that she doesn't listen to podcasts because I can say this. But she was good. I'll give her that.
So how do you feel about, for you, to me, I watched what you did last year, and you were the rookie.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And you were nervous all the time. And today, during the games, I got to say that there is no doubt that your trajectory, not only as let's say a coach or a high level participant on the team, a captain, but also as an athlete, like his growth. I think that physically you improved year over year on a dramatic level. What's your what's your plan?
Yeah.
What's your game plan?
I was kind of talking about this even prior to it was. Going from last year, and I can kind of feel for Tasia on it, when you're put into a spot on a team that's constantly in the spotlight. It was hard, because it's Rich Froning, it's CrossFit Mayhem, and and they just came off of winning the games twice, and so when James left, who's an amazing athlete, it's how do you fill those shoes and stuff, and at the CrossFit Games, like I said, plan A, plan B, plan C is all out the door. It's all the time. It's just right and scratch. But after last year, going into it, I just felt like there's so much stress. Was I fit enough? Will I be good enough out there? At the games and stuff. And once the games were over, I kind of looked back at it, and there was no point in the games where I questioned my fitness. And not to sound arrogant or anything, but I didn't feel like I wasn't fit enough. It's just their team was better.
Yeah.
They came out, they were flawless. And so after this year, when we created the second team with independents and stuff, having Elly on there, Ted stepping up when Angelo had to step away from it due to injury. And then Kristen, who is way too fit, just comes in. The girl's an animal. It was nice though, because when we got out there, we kind of felt like we were just in our element. We were out there with them, It felt like we were at the barn, and like I tell people, I feel like we compete in the CrossFit Games every day at Rich's barn. Yeah. You know, we're going against the best team in the world every single day.
Yeah.
You know, so it was cool in that retrospect of it. But then I kind of took a step back from what I did last year. Last year, I felt like I was stressing constantly to train. Had to train. Like the worst thing I hate is our text group. I hate it because in that text group, it's just a measuring contest of who does the most workouts. And Rich is the worst for it because if you do something, you're gonna get a list of workouts after that he just went and did in a matter of an hour, and you're like, well, you know, there goes that. You know, I'll like message, hey, I just did a 100 cal bike with like 30 muscle ups. I'll get some. Well, I did 5 rounds of 100 cal bike,
right, no,
50 muscle ups, rest a minute.
Those. Yeah, I ate dinner while doing GHD sit-ups.
Yeah, you know, so. But then like this year, I kind of had to, and I don't want to sound stupid with it, not like one of those like look in the mirror moments, but I was like, you know, I think I can still be fit, but be smarter about how I train. And with my wife, thank God she don't listen, that to this. But like as far as like eating right, I think it was one of the biggest things that actually helped me. Last year, I was just survival mode. I was
nutrition during the games.
Yeah, I was like McDonald's in the morning, Taco Bell at night. You know, survival food.
Oh.
And this year, I mean, like knowing like what she does and stuff, and you know, just even like having the ability to have food there was even great. Chris was clutch with it. Jess,
Facundo.
Yeah. I mean,
just
Facundo.
making sure that it was always available because it's hard for you guys, right? The food.
It is.
I mean, I think that is one of the biggest pieces that I notice with athletes is that they have no idea what they're doing.
They don't eat.
And the problem is that you don't feel like eating.
No, you feel terrible.
Yeah, you don't.
I don't want to eat.
And so the food needs to be around. And it was really nice to see that there was always food, and it was hot food was around, right? There were meals that you could eat.
Yeah.
And so you didn't have to make the decision because when that impulse of eating comes, it disappears fast.
Yeah.
Even drinking fluids, it's like, I don't feel like doing it because you're just tired.
Yeah. And it was cool, too. I don't know. I thought it was kind of funny, but I kind of took notice of it last year. And this year I tried to keep up with him was Hewitt. Hewitt in the morning, every morning he got up early, he would go get a thing of waffles. He would bring it back for like everybody, you know, so that way they would have something to eat. But you'd see him, he'd have a big plate of fruit, and then he'd like make his oatmeal and stuff. And last year I can remember waking up and just getting like a little packet of something and just eating that real quick, and then that was it.
Yeah.
And I can remember the very first swim event, the Swimmin Run event. I had a breakdown where I thought I was gonna die, and like I just couldn't like recover.
I wasn't gonna bring that up when he was talking about there wasn't one event that he had that was bad.
I know, but
that was a bad one.
Yeah, that one was a bad one.
That was a bad one.
I mean, but that one, my body was like a filter for like the lake, though. Yeah. I just inhaled everything I could, like when I swam. I was like a basking shark out there, just mouth open and just took it in.
Just picking up kelp.
Yeah. So So this year I was a lot smarter with that.
I mean, did you see a big difference in him year over year as far as like just
for
his
sure.
growth?
He was way more confident this year. Didn't look nervous at any point. But I mean, he's also like him and Elly were the leaders on that team.
Yeah.
Granted, Kristen's great.
Yeah.
Right.
So those three had to lead Ted, but still, it was like he wasn't. You didn't see that scared look in his eye. Like he looked like, hey, he knew that he belonged there, and that was cool to see.
So overall, did you like the programming at the games? Overall, do you feel it was a good test?
I mean, we didn't win, so I didn't like it. But.
There are some things I didn't like as much, obviously. It's just like things like, and it's going to sound like because we didn't perform great in the events, but like a bob push. Like it was the same thing last year with a push-pull. Like maybe, I don't know. I don't know why that.
That's not my favorite. It's a toss-up. It is a lot about how your mass. But it is a sprint event, and maybe it'd make it a 50-point event instead of a 100-point event.
Yeah. But I did like how they put a workout before it.
Yeah, that was better.
Now,
last year was just
that way it might slow some of the bigger teams down, or some of the bigger guys down.
I really liked that they put it in a workout.
Yes,
I wasn't crazy about the solo bob event, but I liked. It had like having a gymnastics, the skill in with a heavy movement.
I think that is very creative. I mean, it's very creative to take a big person who is going to dominate something like that and fatigue them with something just prior.
Yeah.
Right.
It kind of levels it all out a little bit.
But that's what we felt like it lacked last year. You know
Yes,
what I mean?
right, for
Because
sure.
those big guys, a lot of them, it's not making excuses, but I just think there were less tests of skill, like combining those. Like you said, like that's
Right.
a great idea. That's awesome.
Right,
They have
I
to
mean-
be good at both things.
Right. I mean, if you put a bob on the table and you're just like, okay, here's the event, let's face it, you know who's going to do well
right.
in that event.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But you can be very creative by throwing in some type of cardio endurance type thing where
Yeah.
a Sam Dancer is going to struggle.
Right.
I
Right?
think the only event this year that, me and Dave talked about this actually, was they took away the rope climb on the battlegrounds for us. They took away one of the rope climbs.
Two of
the rope climbs, sorry, one on each rope. And then, so 4 rope climbs total they took away. And then they took away the swing across the log.
Yeah.
So the swing across the log was a last minute decision because there was only 5.
which is the whole stress of the obstacle course.
Right.
Seriously.
And so with the swing still being in there, I can see the reason for taking out the 2 rope climbs. But taking the swing out, the rope climb should have been added. And Dave said that. Like, he was
Yeah.
like, we should have done that. But
Well, so speaking of the swing with was it 4 ropes to the next
Yeah.
to get across? Share your story on that one.
Tasia stalled out a little bit.
So what happened is that Tasia takes off in front of you
Yep.
and you couldn't reach your foot.
Well, so Lindy, we were trying to move through it fast, and there wasn't a amount of time. You could just hop on whatever, and I hopped on too close to Lindy. So by the time I got to the end of the rope, she was still there, so I had to stop
And wait.
and
yeah.
wait. And then I had no momentum. So Rich came in behind me. I feel him just kick me with both feet behind my back, and I swung forward right into the log. And I was like, thank you.
Sure.
And was that just reaction?
I saw her standing there. I was like, go.
I was like, I can't.
But she was stuck. Like, I could see that she was stuck. So I was just like, hey, here we go. And gave her a little push.
That's perfect.
I mean,
Same thing as last year with Elly. Getting over the wall. She was kind of stuck on the wall. So I put my foot right on the wall and had her use my foot to climb over the wall.
It was
and
perfect.
does that just pop into your head?
Yeah, it's just is what it is.
I mean, that to me is what is the magic of Rich, right? That those things just pop into his head of having to find a
Yeah.
better way.
I think that's sports, though. Like, having that sport background and just being present and, like, just knowing that, hey, gotta be a little bit of an athlete here and make something happen.
But in all honesty, Rich, I mean, most people are thinking about themselves and getting themselves through the event, and you have the event so much under control that you're aware of the fans, you're aware of the surroundings, the logistics of the course, where you are in position relative to other teams. You're aware of whether or not the cloud's over your head or not. That's why you're a competitor, right? It's all of those things that most people have no awareness of.
I think it's after 9 years, though. You kind of just, I don't know if my first year I really had that under wraps. I think it's just been something that
Growth
the
in it.
more and more you do it, the more and more you understand it. And then, coming from the individual background, you learn a little bit about points and watching people and stuff like that. And then working with a team is completely different, and that's something that I've had to learn over this is my 4th year. So
Well, so in 2010, you got second, lost in the last event. And then last year you get second, but you kind of knew you were going to get second way before the end, right? What was tougher for you?
I think both had their, the first year thinking that coming in thinking, hey, I just want to do well, and then having a chance to win and really being in first into the last couple events, and just the devastation of that and not knowing. It's a completely different feeling from last year, where I guess you kind of knew on Saturday because you're just running out of events.
Right.
There wasn't enough time. They were good at some stuff. There was some things that
And they were strong.
could have done better. They were strong. They were really good. And then having that feeling of we trained super hard, but maybe we didn't.
You're helpless.
Yeah, maybe we didn't do the right workouts.
Yeah.
You feel like you've
Yeah.
let the other 5 people down because, really, we do all share programming, but for the most part, I take the lead on that, and I make people do what I say most of the time. Like, I'm not like, hey, your idea's stupid, but, everybody kind of, I feel like, looks to me like, hey, what are we going to do? And so feeling that, well, I didn't prepare us correctly for it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
So
was then your 2011 win more valuable to you or this, or they feel different, or I mean, is this satisfying to you?
Oh yeah, super satisfying. Yeah, this was
It seemed
awesome.
like it was
fun. But I mean, what was really cool was having them there too. You know,
Right.
being top 5 at the games.
No, it's incredible.
I thought coming in, I was like, hey, they're going to do great. But
well, I mean, let's be honest. You guys were stoked to make it through on regionals too. Like you were just like, man, that was incredible.
Yeah.
Right, and then to be top 5,
to
be in contention.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you want to, this was a good year for sure.
So what's happening with the second place medal?
I don't know. I've had thoughts of taking it down, but
why, you feel it's good luck now
as well too. So
you feel it's good luck, like a horseshoe?
Yeah.
It's like a horseshoe.
It's still there.
Leave it there
right now. We haven't really. It hasn't been buried yet. No.
I always found that interesting, right? That thing is sitting, and I mean, I love how you, like you were just saying, that you write all these workouts and how these things pop into your head, and right below it is the medal, and it almost inspires you to find something a little more
Make
challenging.
It a little harder, yeah.
Right, a little bit harder.
Yeah.
And it's always another level.
Yeah, and I mean, and now, I don't want to say it makes you more proud of that second place medal, having won. Like I wouldn't be like, I'm not happy about second place ever, but having the redemption of winning makes that second place, all right, now it's okay to talk about that now. Like if we would have got another second or not even been in the top 10, then it would have been
my God,
different.
could you imagine?
Don't look at me.
I would definitely move out of town. I'm out of here for sure. Because when Rich gets grouchy, he's
I'd probably
not...
be moving home.
not that we see him grouchy very often, but when it happens, it's not very fun.
I can be a jerk. I know that.
Oh, my goodness. It's super stressful.
Yeah. So,
well, I mean, speaking of stress, right? So what was interesting for me, and we all saw it last year, is there was a lot of activity on the home front for Rich, and it caused a lot of...
There's mass chaos in my house.
But this year...
Asked Tasia yesterday.
But
there's a lot of kids.
But this year, there were times where it was a level of stress that I mean, Heidi and myself, we had a hard time going over there.
I have a hard time
it was
going
so
over there.
What's that?
I said I have a hard time going over there.
No, I know. I would see him. I remember going at during the open, and I went up, and I'm like, and I told Heidi, I'm like, Rich looks really old.
I look old, yeah.
He looks really old
to die.
I'm
seriously. No sleep will do that to you.
Well, so I asked, I'm like, and honestly, I mean, one of the great things, you're truly honest, and I said, how much sleep are you getting? And you're like, I'm maybe averaging 3 hours at night, maybe.
Yeah.
And day after day and week after week, that takes a toll, and somehow though, you did a better job this year in managing 3 kids than last year and 2 kids.
Yeah, I think it's just experience, to be honest. I mean, and my wife is great, and we did have a lot of help.
So you found a better way, because last year I think that was a mistake that was made, is that you didn't have enough help, and you were having to pick up a lot of that, which you guys ended up waiting. Right, to do a lot of, and I never saw you waiting at the end. This year you always trained. It was always a priority.
Times. I mean, when you have 3, it's the hardest part, honestly, is getting out of the house with Lakeland. I mean, because she just wants to go. Like, she wants to be part of the group. Wants to, trying to get somewhere other. That's why we do a lot of training at the barn. It's because that way she can come and go, and I can kind of be closer and help. And these guys are great about doing that and coming up there.
But you had the barn last year too.
We did.
Right. That's to me, it seemed like, he was in a much better space this year.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
Yeah. The
Open was tough. The Open was really hard. I mean, because that was when we got Violet. And, I was kind of, for like 10 days, single parenting with, Trice and Lakeland, which are not easy kids to,
Right.
I mean, honestly, though, I felt too correct me if I'm wrong, he was in a tremendous amount of pain last year and didn't tell anybody. Like, you had a torn meniscus. There were days that he couldn't walk. So, I mean, that's managing that on top of 2-3 children is
that's true.
Challenging enough.
Stressful.
And supporting an entire, he was supporting his entire team, programming for us, taking care of his family, and trying to find ways to heal and manage just being in pain when you're doing everything. I mean, I think that alone, it's pretty overwhelming, and didn't tell a soul.
Yeah, I mean, you last year at this time, you were having surgery.
Yeah, Monday of this next week, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Yeah, but I think that it does help that Rich, when he's in that space, it's very infectious, and that it's like there's a lot of momentum, and it's like, and the level of confidence spills into everybody. And I mean, there's people I think that are out there that are very draining when you're around them, but when Rich is on it, there's a level of just confidence that just goes
elevation
of everybody.
Yeah.
And that's really powerful.
Yeah, but we have great people. Everybody fits in awesome here. So it's not like you look forward to doing what you do. So like, I like hanging out with these guys all the time. So even when we're competing, it's no different than us hanging out at the barn. So it's like when we're like, oh man, we got to be here at whatever time, and we're not going to leave till later on in the day. It's like, well, that's what we do anyway. So it's like I'd be hanging out with these guys anyway. So what does it matter? Might as well do some working out in there and have some fun. So
have you done any fitness since the games?
Yeah, we went. I did a little bit on Tuesday. We got home Monday. I didn't do anything. Tuesday, I just did some like strict pull-ups and bench and sit-ups. And then yesterday we went on a little like 25-mile bike that ended in a torrential monsoon.
It was awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, the rain was like cool.
The last
blown
5 miles probably. It
literally
it was gusting wind so hard that it was almost taking me out and knocking Elly out on the bike. And then coming up the mountain was like a river. It was
ridiculous.
And you went for a swim this morning.
Yeah, what happened? Like
I got a filter. I gotta keep.
Really
why are you swimming?
I gotta keep the pond water running through me. My body will die.
That sounded fun though. I
It
really
was,
wish I could have gone swimming with
but
you.
like I said, it was from something I hated, and I even told Justice like this morning. I said I don't know why I'm doing this, because I said I would never swim again, even in a pool.
You love it.
Even if I went over a little kid's birthday, I wouldn't do it.
And you love it.
And for some reason, I found myself
Makes
last
you feel
night.
better.
Yeah, I was just laying there, and I'm like, I don't want to lift. I don't want to pound on like my body. I want to get in the water and drown. Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, you have an open invitation to come to my house and watch.
I don't want to swim with you
Feud.
because I don't want you
we'll
talking
go watch
to me
Family
the whole
Feud
time.
or something. We'll watch some TV. So what's next
watch
for you
SpongeBob.
guys? There you go.
SpongeBob.
Oh my God.
What's next?
What's next? What's next?
2019.
I mean, when do you start thinking of 19? When does that happen?
Driving
happened
back
on
from
Monday,
the arena.
yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
you guys have already had a conversation.
Yeah, we've tried to figure out who's going where, what's everybody doing. Darren's done retiring. You want to tell everybody you're retiring?
Officially.
But Darren,
I'm old, Chris.
Do you feel done?
Oh.
I mean, I know you're tired.
I don't feel done as far as like what my body could still take.
Because you're totally good right now, right?
I'm good, but
it seems to me that you guys overtrained. Because you're so fit, it was like you guys could have done 3 more days,
Yeah, probably.
right?
I don't know. I was pretty freaking sore on Monday. Doing the lunges, I just
those
didn't
are-
lunge at all because of my knee.
lunges are the worst.
They
And
make you so sore.
Yeah,
I know. We could have gotten ready, but I was sore on Monday. Like my butt hurt.
Are you sore?
No, I actually felt the most sore I was Thursday, our rest day, and then from then my soreness kept getting better. But I
Which
think
is
we've
incredible.
just done so much.
And Elly?
Feel good.
I mean, that's really remarkable that you can go through that, and it just shows you the level of fitness that you have, that your ability to recover is it's remarkable. I mean, that is one of your greatest things that you guys have done, is your ability to recover. So
Yeah.
most people, I mean, you watch it in the warm-up area, they were not even able to warm up, let alone warm down, because they were so crushed. And you guys,
Felt good.
right, the whole time. I mean, I think clearly when I was watching you guys warm up, that was one of the biggest sources of intimidation. It was like, oh my God, like look at Mayhem. We got to warm up too. Like there's no way.
Right.
I mean, there was no way that they can do that. I think that was a big deal. Yeah. So again, you guys were talking about 2019.
Yeah.
just
So I mean,
recently.
the goal
So
is
you think you're done
Darren's done.
for real?
Lindy's.
I just want to coach and ride off into the sunset on my one wheel, Chris.
Lindy's
We got to
done.
get him. We got to get him the one wheel.
I know.
Yeah.
Hey, somebody from One Wheel.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, I mean that would be it.
You post this? Yeah. Lindy's done. Hewitt's sounding like he's done. I talked to
How
him this
about
morning.
her talk at the end?
Yeah.
Did that get you emotional? Like at the end when she did her lecture?
Her lecture.
Not a lecture, but the interview at the
Her
end.
speech. Yeah.
Listen up.
Yeah, I mean, we're glad to have Lindy here for as many years as she was. So.
I mean, that was very emotional for me. It was like she was choked up and yeah. I mean, to see her go.
I think it's crazy too. Like, you know, even like, not that Rich will ever step away from it, but when you look at like we've been doing this for 9 years, almost 10 years. Think that's that much of our life is already
a third of my life is gone.
I mean, it's just crazy to look.
And did it together, yeah.
I mean, just to like look back on how fast, but how many things that you've done, how many people you met, like different things that have crossed, and then, you know, it's just on to like the next year. Kind of like you said, like what next year? And she's like, well, we're already thinking about it.
I think that's what's nice about this group. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we, you know, Heidi and I love being here is that we love hanging out with each other. And when someone gets up and goes, it's hard.
Yeah, it sucks.
I mean, it's really sad. It's a sad moment
Sure.
when she makes that comment because, I mean, just, you totally get it. You can't compete forever, but it's a part of this core, and it's a piece of us all leaving.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, I and I know that means a lot to you, right?
Yeah.
I think that's one of the greatest things that you have done in this group is you've created a network of friends and people and
It's different because the group is so close too. I mean, it's like a
Incredibly.
family. So it's like someone's leaving the family. It's you know.
And I don't think many people have that where they can depend on someone, truly depend on them. And you guys would do anything for one another. And that's a rare thing. And yeah, I think that's right. It's nice
awesome.
when you
I
walk
mean-
in and see that. It changes your, and Kristen said the same thing.
Yeah.
been
Her
an
experience
incredible
the years
experience.
before
Oh, yeah.
was not the best.
And that's why we're staying, you know, like why would we want to leave someplace that has so many great people, you know, that you're surrounded by every day and they
Every day. Yeah.
want to do the same things? It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I
me,
think that it
Tasia,
does.
Elly, and Kristen are still here. And Ted. Ted said he's in for next year, so we have to mix and match and do some stuff.
Is Ted okay?
Ted's great.
Is he?
Ted's great.
I haven't seen him.
I mean, I saw him afterwards and
Don't even
and
know like what happened.
He
It's
flew
great.
out. He had to leave Sunday morning. Listen to this. This is the best.
So
Ted's flight was at like what? 6?
No, it's like
Six-
5:50.
Was it 5:50 or 6:30 or something like
6:50.
6:30? Anyway,
5:56. Like
anyway,
Whatever.
Anyway, he rode to the airport with our chiropractor Mel that went with us. Their flight was like really super. No, they were before
They were a
Ted.
little before it.
And so
Oh,
they rode.
okay.
He rode with them at 2:30 in the morning because we flew out of Milwaukee. So he rode with them to the airport, hung out at the airport, flew, got home to Nashville at like noon. Our flights were delayed, and he didn't want to have his brother drive him and have somebody come pick him up from Cookville. So he waited for us in Nashville until 3:30.
No, that's
Yeah,
terrible.
and then rode back with us.
he's awesome.
So he traveled 12 hours on
What a
boy, that
trooper.
dude's a
He's
warrior.
awesome.
Or 13
He
hours.
is a warrior.
So Ted, gotta love Ted.
He was great.
So
Wow.
So good.
yep,
So then what's up with you, Rich? What's up with you? You're
I'm old.
You're not old.
I'm old.
You know what's interesting about Rich, and it's the truth,
Tell me, Chris.
is that he's been doing this for so long, and you always wait for him to just say, you know what, I'm just tired. I'm
Gonna die.
tired. You throw three
Just too
kids
old.
on him.
Just too
Right,
far.
you throw
And
three
like
kids.
old Yeller, like we're gonna put a bullet in him or something.
I know, but
Should.
listen to what Rich has. Like, he look at this building and this whole business and 3 kids and his like. It's like, and he
Can
still
you imagine
just keeps
me
going.
without having any type of competition to prepare for?
No, I know.
Exactly.
Like we went down
No.
the slide.
Nobody,
No.
nobody would like me. Nobody likes me anyway.
Well, because you're not done.
True.
You don't feel done.
No, I feel honestly, if it wasn't for my left knee, I feel great. My
But
whole body feels great.
But what's amazing about your left knee is that you've experienced so much pain in your life that left knee, it's just another nuisance.
Just there.
His left
It's
knee's
just
a
there.
person.
Right. All it is a
Put a
nuisance.
mic on that thing.
Right?
That thing doesn't want to talk right now.
Right. It's like, oh, I peeled off part of my hangnail. That hurts me and my knee.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm good.
Yeah, other than that, seriously, I am. I feel great.
That
No,
hangnail?
and so that's the
I
thing.
did have a
is-
hangnail on my toe,
It hurts.
Ouch, those hurt.
but yeah,
But I think that's the thing is that you're not done and you enjoy it so much that
I literally enjoy the entire year until the last 2 or 3 weeks, and then I'm like, all right, I'm over this. Leading up to the games.
I do enjoy watching you and the way in which you are between events, and there's not a lot of drama. There's not a lot of psych and warm up and prep and anything. You're kind of in your own space, but it's not like it rattles you. There's not all this rah go team go. It's just like, let's just take care of business, like a workout that you do in the barn.
Everybody has a job and everybody knows like what they have to do.
Yeah,
right. And it's not like some let's get together in a big huddle and do, it's
just like our day to day. It's what we do on a daily basis. And I mean, could you imagine if you were saying rah as much adrenaline as you have on a daily, like in those events? Like that's like a
these guys
safe,
don't need
quiet
somebody
place.
to sit there and get in their face to get them fired up. Like you almost need to be as calm as you can going into the event.
I feel like when somebody tells me, hey, you need to do good, I want to punch them. Because for a second I thought I had to fail.
But I think though that's what you've done though, Rich, is that you clearly do lead in a lot of ways, but you're trying to create a bunch of individuals that are independent and they can think on their own. And so, like, I did get nervous, honestly, when in that the second to last event, and you guys, poor Ted was getting dropped, and he
did great.
If he fell over, I was like, no one's going to see him.
He's dead. Ted's dead.
But the way in which you guys have trained is like, you know what, Ted? You got to figure those things out on your own. You've got to gauge your own intensity.
Right.
And we trust you enough that you're going to be okay.
Right.
And I think that there's a lot of teams out there that the individuals need to be told what to do.
Right.
And that's the wrong approach.
Yeah, and that frustrates me more than anything when somebody cannot figure something on their own. Like just in those crazy scenarios, like, I mean, I was always told like when I was a kid and my mom, to the point of where I'd cry a lot because she'd be like, hey, figure it out. Constantly. I mean, there was one time like where like my tire literally came off my car with the axle and stuff. And like, she told me that I had to fix it. I'm 16 years old. I'm not a mechanic. I'm like, I cannot fix this. It is broken. And she made me stare at it for 9 hours. I sat in my barn just staring at it. And it frustrates me. Like when I see, and yes, there are certain things that it helps having a coach. It helps having somebody there to help you figure stuff out. But it frustrates me to see that people cannot think for themselves at any given point. Or like when crap does hit the fan, like you see it on people, like they don't know what to do.
Right. It's panic.
And kind of like you said, like with Rich being in sports and stuff, how he's able to adapt. Like Tasia was struggling without even a hesitation. He knew push her across, and that's what I love about CrossFit as far as in the competitive field is that, like I've said a couple times, is that plan A is never there. Usually plan B is never there. You have to constantly try and find a new way.
Right.
Yeah, but and even like before events, we'll bounce ideas off each other. I mean, talking about that snatch bar muscle up one, we were talking, and we at first we thought about breaking it into 3 sets, and then we thought about going big set and then some singles. And I don't think, did you ever go to singles?
So I actually did go to singles. Just because, like I said, I'll usually bounce an idea off Rich, and if he says it's dumb, I'm like, perfect, and I'm gonna do this then. I just want to see like if he'll do it, and then I know take the next step down. Because if he can't do it, there's no way in hell I'm doing it.
But I know you guys joke, but the truth is that you respect every one of them, and their opinion matters. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people misunderstand is like Rich is just barking orders, and that's not the way that it works. I mean, you guys game plan together, right? And I think that's one of the rare things about the team is that it's not that you're pointing fingers at people and highlighting weaknesses, right?
Yeah.
You're not. Like you even came to me and we talked immediately afterwards about we got to find a better way to make it so that you're more comfortable in the water.
Yeah.
And it's not like making people feel bad about weaknesses. It's not. It's doing workouts and everybody's aware of strengths and weaknesses. Almost indirectly you do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's been awesome. And like the experience as far as like the crowds was like a very different experience for me because normally when I'm corralled when I've competed alone or whatever. It's like a very stressful point in the competition is when you're standing there.
Yeah.
But with our 2 teams, it was probably the most fun I had was when we were in the corrals, because we got Huey talking in Batman voice and like eating gummies out of his pocket, and everyone's just like having
freaking
fun.
out about what we need to do, about the point spread and how we're all going to die.
But just joking, you know what I mean? Like just having a good time and trying to lower your heart rate and knowing that like going out there with everyone, we know we're going to give 100%. Like I have no doubt that anyone's going to do their best, and whether that's going to be good enough or not, we don't know.
Yep.
But there's like a calming effect to being in the crowds with each other.
So speaking of Hewitt, before we end, so we haven't spoken about him much. I got to say that he, in watching you guys, all of you, is the one that gives me the least stress.
He's awesome.
I mean, honestly, like
he is. Yeah.
He reminds me of Hobart back, when he was on the team, where he kind of just was behind the scenes, but you never worried about him.
Yep.
And like that obstacle course, like just never concerned about anything that he was doing.
Yep.
Just the only one time that I ever saw Hewitt mess up was it was like a burpee workout back in Carson. And and something happened where he went inside out. Yeah. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And I don't even know, but that was the last time.
As long as Hewitt's not on his hands, he's great.
Yeah. Seriously, yeah, he is. He and I thought it was cool, like when they kind of said at the games, he is, in my opinion, the unsung hero, I mean, like of the team.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff, because, he is a guy that you can, look to. I mean, like when Rich, is like helping out, I mean, other people, and especially like in the games, I think he's very good in game situations.
Yeah. Incredible.
Like, he's great at like telling you like what you need to do in a calming manner. He's great at telling you things that like you don't even think about that are coming up. I mean, like onto the field, he'll be like, "Hey, back 3 years ago, I remember seeing this."
Yeah,
and
he remembers.
He does. His memory is unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, a huge asset on it.
Yeah, huge.
And I think that would provide a level. So he got a huge promotion.
It's gonna be tough to figure that out. I mean, right now he's saying he's done. We'll see, and I'm gonna give him like a month to figure it out. But
I mean, that's the thing about this is that someday for all of you it's going to end.
Yep.
And it's nice that he is so highly respected in his job that they gave him an incredible promotion, an incredible opportunity. And I mean, you got to respect that he's in that transitional space where he's, let's face it, on top of his game in this sport.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think in terms of health,
great.
He's good to go.
Yep.
And then in terms of his profession, long term, he's so highly respected. I mean, that's got to be tough for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
I mean, I'm sure you all understand that.
Yeah.
But it's
for
got to
sure.
be.
I mean, he's got to take care of.
I mean, what a
number
nice
one first.
What a nice thing though for him that he's got those two things and they're going
deserves
great.
it.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah.
He works hard.
Yeah. So, do you think this year there'll be any more funny business from Castro come November? Where he's going to make it two-person teams?
Six-person teams.
Teams of three.
Teams of three. Transgender.
2-person.
Yeah.
I actually think that what Dave did in these events overall, I think that the way in which they were done and the contrast with the individuals from a fan experience was remarkable.
Yeah, I
mean,
think
the show that you guys put on and what we saw you do, even the last event, although how simplistic it was, the way you were moving, we were able to easily track who was in front and who was in back.
Yeah. I think he's done a great job over the years figuring that out and doing a great job. I think, and as much as hard as it was to go from 6 to 4, I think it's a better test, one, and it's easier to program. It's easier to watch 4 people versus
It's easier
6.
to watch. I mean, that's the thing is like, as a fan, and let's face it, that the level of attendance that was there, and it was ridiculous. It was just ridiculous. The amount of crowd, even on a Thursday. I went to the venue and spent a bunch of time there on Thursday, and it was jam-packed. Vendor Village and all of that.
Right.
And it's never been that way.
Right.
And I think that making it so that these events are fun to watch on television, is really important. And it's the truth. Like, I spent a lot of time watching them on TV because just being busy with you guys and stuff. And it was nice. It was unlike any other experience before. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I think that the popularity because of that will continue to grow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Which
for
will
sure.
make it for the athlete, let's face it, the athlete, 10 years from now, because of what you guys did, it's going to be a big deal. Big deal. Any parting comments before we close out?
Thank you for doing this.
Good
This
job,
was
Chris.
incredible.
Yeah, it was great.
Thanks,
Chris.
Coach.
Oh my gosh,
We're
I'm
amazing.
In depth.
I really like spending my time with you guys. I really do. I think that you guys I'm very fortunate to be able to spend time with you, and I think that showing people that you do, you're a tight-knit group of people, and I think that's the biggest strength, like you said, Tasia, and thank you for letting me be a part. And again, congratulations to both of you guys.
Another year having you around, Coach.
Yeah, thank you, Rich. I applaud you all.
Thanks, Coach.
Coach.
CrossFitMayhem.com. When are you gonna launch this? When are you gonna post this? Okay. We're gonna have the shirts still available because we should probably put that order in soon. If there's still a pre-sale available on the Mayhem Freedom Championship shirts, check them out.
Yeah, this is awkward.
Yeah. Peace.